Well, well, well. Look who's back. It's me. And it's you. You slags. We're back again. Another week has passed. I was supposed to be getting joined this week by Mr. Philip Kelly. But sadly that has not come through. The boy just works too bloody hard. He's burnt himself out. So we'll save that one. We'll rain check it, yeah? We'll give it a rain check. I hate that when people say that. American, like that's an American thing. You know, fill your boots. But you know, when English people or whatever say it, can I take a rain check? Can I take a rain check and get back to you? I don't know what that means. Where'd that phrase come from? Does anyone know? Hey guys, can we take a rain check? Whatever. Anyway, we're here. You're stuck with just myself. And I wasn't really too sure what to speak about this week. So, I'm going to have a quick chat about the buzzword at the moment, mental health. Now, everybody's got mental health, whether they think they do or they don't. Everybody, if you have good mental health, you probably don't even know you have it because your brain is working fine. Some of us aren't so lucky. Now, normally when I hear people say, I just want to talk to you guys about mental health, I'll skip to the next thing. I hate hearing about it. For a number of reasons. One, it makes me think about it. Two, I'm sort of like, yeah, but you don't really get it. Even people who do suffer from different things, I'm always like, yeah, but you still don't get what I'm talking about. But in reality, I think there's a lot of people in the same boat. And it's only when I see someone who's, you know, suffering from it pretty bad that I'm like, oh shit, okay. Maybe I'm not as bad as I thought I was. But for me personally, I think it all sort of came to fruition around sort of 16, I reckon. 16, 17, somewhere around there. I've always been quite a sort of, you know, happy, quite a convivial type character, yeah? But I think, I mean, I've never really, I've spent a lot of time thinking about how this has all happened and whatever, and I've never truly figured it out. But as far as I can deduce, is that it was just around that sort of teenage age. I never used to drink even back then. I remember going to people's houses when I was sort of 16, 17. They'd get their older sister or brother to get us a bottle of WKD Blue, fam. Big drink, Red Square, 2020. Girls would be a bit more classy, Lambrini, yeah? To get a nice little chill bottle of lambs in the fridge. Moscato. But I'd be like, nah, not me. Even back then. Because what used to happen was, we'd sit around, we'd watch a film, we'd eat Doritos out of a bowl. Then, everyone would get a little bit boozed. And for some reason, they just used to want to go to town. Now, you've got to remember, we're 15, 16 at this time. Can't go out. Not out. Not Mickey Flanagan, at. But down near Quicksave, the absolute dogshit supermarket, there was some public toilets, and the baby changing rooms had a heater in there. And they used to just go and hang around in there. Just to be in town at night. And I was like, leave it. I never liked being in a situation where I wasn't not in control, but even now, it's like if something is going away, I'm not enjoying it, I can leave. I can hop in the car and I can leave. I mean, even back then I couldn't drive, but I don't know. I can't be really specific about all this stuff, guys, because I don't have the answers. But my first sort of real memories of it was back when I was like watching loads of stuff about the universe, figuring out about space, and like, you know, as a teenager, you're like questioning your existence. Everything seems to be going wrong all the time. You're not in the cool kids group, whatever. And I sort of remember thinking, well, what is the point of being alive then? You know? The world was here 4 billion years before I was here. It'll be here 4 billion years after I'm here. Is anything I'm doing really making a difference to anything? Really? If I died tomorrow, yes, a small percentage of people would be upset about it, but the rest of the world's just going to carry on. Pretty grim. But that also led me to the conclusion of like, well, I'm pretty lucky to even be here. Like, statistically speaking, to even make it this far, it's pretty impressive. There's like 1 billion people that could have been me that aren't me. So I've been given the opportunity. I suppose I should do something useful with it. Plus, well, actually no, I'm gonna come back to that. But that's where it all sort of started. I remember sort of questioning all that sort of stuff. And I think another thing that helped me sort of move out of that state of mind was seeing, you know, trying to speak to people about that sort of thing, space, time, purpose, all that, you know, and they were like, what are you talking about? And I was like, oh God. Some people were just fucking stupid, man. They didn't have a clue what I was talking about. And I put it down to like, okay, I'm not saying I'm a genius, yeah? Man's no Stephen Hawkins up in here. But to be in the mindset I'm in, I must be fairly switched on to even comprehend these things. Which gave me a bit of a confidence boost. When you're at school, being smart is not cool. And I knew that. But I also could foresee the future. And some of the kids that used to, you know, laugh at you for being a little bit of a teacher's pet or whatever. Girls would be like, oh, you're alright, teacher's pet. It's like, yeah, how's that home nail salon going? How's your eyebrow business going, love? Yeah, decent. Nice one. Stuck at home with 12 kids. But my first real memories of that sort of thing, I remember sitting on the sofa with my mum watching I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. The early days when it was decent. I'm talking Peter Andre days, yeah? Insania days. Those that know, they know. And yeah, I knew it was like I had to go to bed after that because I had school. And I just used to get so hot. My face would just be on fire. Heart would be like racing, be all getting sweaty. I knew I had to go to bed soon, and I knew I'd have to lay there and just think about stuff till I fell asleep. This could be in part why now I still go to bed really, really late. I don't know. I haven't really thought about that till literally just now. But that used to happen most nights because that show used to be on way too much. But then I'd go to bed, you'd lay there for a bit, you'd fall asleep. Then, as I got a bit older, sort of contemplated, like, what would happen if I killed myself? Does anyone else do this, right? You'd be driving along on, like, motorway or something, and you just think, what would happen if I just span the wheel to the right now? Or if you're in the United States or Europe, span the wheel to the left into the oncoming traffic. I used to think that all the time. It'd take 1 second to just that 1 second to be like, I'm going to do it. And you're a dead man. I'd never do it. But I used to think about it. I used to think about death a lot, actually. And up until fairly recently, where I kind of have forced myself to stop doing it because I think it's, it is kind of weird. But yeah, sort of used to think about, I don't know if I used to think about killing myself, but I used to think about thinking about killing myself, if that makes any sense. Like what would happen, what would really happen. But it's a pretty selfish thing to do, man. But then, something quite strange happened. I bought this album by a band that wouldn't really be my sort of thing. I'm sure a lot of you know Angels and Airwaves. If you don't, it's Tom DeLonge, the guitar player from Blink-182. It's his other band. And they're very, like, sort of euphoric, very epic sounding, like, soundscapes. And it's all about how amazing it is to be alive. And it's like, it's I don't know if he's sort of found religion or he's just got a family or whatever it was that caused him to write the songs. But just listening to that, something in my head was like, wow, being alive is pretty fucking cool, actually. There's loads of cool stuff going on. So it's a pretty big statement, but I think like that album changed my life. And a lot of people think it's an absolute dog shit album, but I will rate that album to the end of time. Sort of moving on. I never used to enjoy going out at night. Dover, where I grew up, it wasn't that rough, but it was rough enough that I used to get, like, I remember walking home once and some dude just tried to jaw me on the street. Just like, for no reason. We were just walking past each other and he took a swing and I was like, what am I doing here? Some lad I actually knew fairly well. One day I made a joke. And it weren't even like a bad joke. I repeated myself like 6 times and he was like, I don't know what you mean. He couldn't understand what I was saying. And all I was asking him was, did you buy your skateboard from this person? Because it looked like their board. And I was like, did you buy it from them or have you just got the same one? And they were like, what are you talking about? And in the end I was like, do you know what? You're obviously not understanding me. Forget it. And the dude just smashed me in the jaw, mate. But yeah, cheers. Appreciate that. So, yeah, going out at night was never my vibe. I used to go to my friend Curtis's house. We'd listen to the Smiths. We'd play guitar. He'd smoke cigarettes. We'd drink some tea. And that was me, man. I was more than happy doing that. Later on, like when I met Curtis, man, or Bert as I used to know him, that was the instant friendship right there. A couple of inseparable boys for a long time. But he was a lot more sort of, I don't know, we were both sort of as like, not miserable, but we used to enjoy like just putting the world to rights together, you know. But he was a little bit more adventurous than me. So we ended up going out. We used to go to the city a little bit. Go to a couple of quiet pubs. Not really talk to many people. But, you know, we'd at least go out. Go somewhere nice anyway, do you know what I mean? We'd be going to like nightclubs and shit. But, yeah, man. That was me as a teenager. Then, after I sort of finished college, I went to Australia, which I'd been talking about doing for years. And I was talking the talk, but I just couldn't bring myself to do it, man. Then, I met another friend, Mr. Christopher Terry. Now, that was another turning point in my life. And within like what seemed like 3 or 4 weeks, it was like, oh my god, we got tickets. We got tickets, man. We're going to Australia, mate. And yeah, sure enough, we went. And that was just like reset button. I just hit the reset button, man. New country, no one knew ya. I had this like mad vision of Australia, like most people do. Beaches, like athletic women, people surfing everywhere, barbecues. I got there and I was living in like North Melbourne, rural Victoria even, countryside. And when I got there, I was like, what is this? This is not how I pictured the country, you know. Went to the nearest city, everyone was fat. Just bullshit shops everywhere. But I've since learned the whole country's not like that. And I've actually come to, you know, as you sort of get older, those sort of places are the best places, man. They are the best places. You go to the city and it's awful. You go to Bondi Beach, no thanks. That was also the Halpin family. Got to shout out the Halpin family. And I know that they're listening. Big up yourselves. Introduced me to the world of four-wheel driving. But I'm slightly digressing. Hit the reset button. I'm in Australia. I feel like a sort of new start. And everything was just great. I was working, I was sort of doing this, I was doing that. Chris sadly had to leave me. And I was on my own, which I was terrified about, but it ended up being a really good thing for me. Had to like make friends. And I'd say by the sort of end of the first year, start of my second year there, that was when I was in like full confidence. I was happy going out, used to go to clubs, pubs, had loads of friends. Like, was just really a completely different person. If you met me there and you had known me from before, you wouldn't recognise me, man. Obviously, everybody who you meet along the way only knows you as the person that you are when they meet you. This version that you have of like, you know, when you think me, oh, that's me. You are the only person on the planet that thinks of you like that. Every person you know, including your parents, your boyfriend, girlfriend, your friends, your teachers, whatever, everybody who knows you thinks of you, what you would call you or me, differently. So in my head, I'm still this like slightly nervous. I've got all that sort of in me still. And when you meet someone and you're like, oh no, I'm a bit shy or whatever, they're like, no, you're not. And then you start believing your own hype and you're like, oh, maybe I'm not. That's not me. I feel like near the end of my time there, I crept over the line slightly from confidence to arrogance. Everybody loves confidence. It's nice. Confidence is chatty. Confidence is friendly. Confidence is helpful. Arrogance, dickhead. It's a fine line. But I was so caught up in this newfound confidence and that I started to almost feel like I can do anything and that you're slightly better than someone. That is a very dangerous way to be. And it was only when I sort of asked someone once, do you think I'm acting a bit like a dickhead? Oh no, sorry, what I said was, do you think I'm a dickhead? And they said, no, I don't. But I think you're acting like one. And I was like, okay. I see what's happening here. I've gone too far. I've overindulged. So that was good though. That I needed to hear that. Dial it back a little bit. Then I went back to England. I was there a few months. And I just slipped straight back in to the old ways. I was meant to be coming to New Zealand where I am now, and I was only meant to be home for a month or so. It was 3-4 months before I left. I was like, I can't go. How am I going to go to another country by myself? Like, I've just been living in Australia by myself for 2 years, and now I'm like worrying about it. But sure enough, I'd said I was going to go. I had it all lined up, paid for. I went. The minute I got off the plane, everything was gravy. Everything was fine. No problems. Had a great time. That was like 7 years ago or something. I'm still here and I'm still loving it. But that's why I can't go home, man. I just feel like I'm going to go back to how I used to be. I mean, I remember even going home and I was with my brother in the shop and sort of like being a bit chatty to the boss man in the shop, having a little chit chat with the man behind the counter. And when we left, I mean, he might not even remember this, but my brother said to me, what are you chatting to him for like that? And I was like, I don't know, that's just how everyone does it over here. Everyone's just chats to everyone. And I was like, oh God, England's like, if you're looking at someone who you don't know, you get that like, what are you looking at? Not everywhere. And England's a funny place for me because as much as I wanted to leave when I was there, if anyone says it's terrible, I'm the first to defend it. It's like, yeah, it is bad, but it's my bad place. Do you know what I mean? I rep England to the fullest. I still believe we make like best comedy, loads of the best music. I'm not renouncing my Britishness, but maybe it was just where I lived. Just wasn't feeling it. Loads of good people there, man. It's just a shame I can't bring my friends all to here where I am now. But I feel like my mental state is so much better here. And until that starts to change, I'll stay here, I think. It might not be forever, but at the moment, I feel a sort of calmness when I get back here. That's not to say since I've been here, it's all stopped, because the last sort of, I don't know, well, all the time really, but I still had, when I first got to New Zealand, everything was exciting, everything was new, it was back to that sort of thing. now I'm sort of just living a normal life, going to work, all that sort of thing. It's kind of back. It's not just that sort. Sometimes people say, oh, you need to relax. People say, oh, you got to just look after your mental health, do things that are right for you. But sometimes I end up having a mad panic attack when I'm just sat around with my friends. Like, you can't be more relaxed than that. So I'm not 100% sure what triggers it every time. But I've learned a few things. And I can avoid those things. But if I can't avoid it, I've sort of learnt how to deal with it a bit better. I still get the heat is the one, man. I get hot. The heartbeat going. The main problem, the stomach. I just like, it's like, you know, when you drink a coffee in the morning, you just feel like you're about to shit your pants. That's what happens, man. It's like I sort of lose control of myself. And from what I've sort of learned, it's part of the inbuilt evolution of man. It's part of the fight or flight. You know, a lot of animals do it. I think it's where the phrase like scared shitless comes from. You sort of empty your bowels out. That's all your scent. You dump that, throw them off the scent. Then you're also more light. You can run. It's part of the fight or flight response. It's also why a lot of people who have panic attacks and stuff also later in life suffer from like stomach ulcers and stuff, because it's like your insides are constantly on the move. So this is going to get a bit intimate, this chat now. It's going to get a bit gross. But that feeling is part of it, because if I'm out, as a little side note, I don't like, I mean, I don't mind it, I'll do it, but I don't really like shitting in pubs, restaurants. You know, I don't know, it's something about someone going in, if you open the door and there's someone there, and they've got to go in, they know that was you. Like, oh, I can't deal with that, man. I hate that. So if I'm somewhere, especially I work on a building site a lot of the time. Sometimes you've got one toilet, porter cabin. Sometimes you've got none. And if I find myself in a situation and I realise, oh my God, there's no toilets here I can use, I hope I don't have a panic attack. That will bring on that. And then I'm like, oh, I've got to go. And then I'll go somewhere and then I'm fine. Equally, it's almost like my brain has linked that feeling to that event. And so they're linked, and it can work the other way. So if I'm out somewhere and I've eaten a lot, I've been for a big meal or something, and I need to take a shit when I'm out, my brain goes, oh, hello, are we having a panic attack? And it can bring it on the other way. Now, I don't even know if that's true, but I feel like that's what happens, and that's what I think. So I'm constantly like, that is always in the back of my mind, which is really annoying. I've also found another cause of it is lack of sleep. I've sort of realised if I have a week of sort of going to bed late, which for me is most weeks, by the end of it, I can feel it sort of coming on. The thing is, it only normally lasts for, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes. Then I sort of come out of it and I feel alright again. They have been sort of lasting a little bit longer, the last year or so. But the worst time was about 2 years ago, 3 years ago maybe. I was working winter, being cold as well. When I'm really cold, I get shivery. That seems to do something to me as well. I don't really know that one, but I try and avoid being really cold as much as possible. But I don't know. I can't totally remember what brought it on, but I was in this like state of constant worry. And I remember driving to work in the morning, and any song on the radio that was remotely sad, I had to just turn it over, because I was like, oh my God, what if this makes it worse? So I was like, I had to keep turning the radio over all the time. I felt sick a lot, so I didn't eat. Couldn't eat at lunchtime, which then makes you feel weak, which then makes you tired, and then I couldn't sleep, and it went on for about 5 days. I barely could eat. I remember sort of going to see friends who suffered. I know people who suffered from anxiety and stuff, and going up there and sort of trying to talk to them. It was like, yeah, you know, it's middle of winter, it was always dark, it was always cold. And I was just like, this is me. This is me forever now. I don't know what's happened, but I've gone over the edge. And that's me. This is how I'm going to be for the rest of my life. And you start thinking, I can't live like this, man. I can't live if this is how it's going to be forever, because it's horrible. And I get it. Then I start thinking, oh, well, what about someone like, see, more recently this came into my mind, old mate from Linkin Park. I was like, what if I get to 40, 50, and I'm still having these episodes, or whatever you want to call them? If I'm 50 and I'm in that state of mind for a week after having it forever, I can easily see how someone would be like, right, fuck this, I'm gone. But I don't think I'll ever get to that point. In fact, I know I won't. I feel like you've got to just... So even now, when I hear Linkin Park on the radio, it makes me think of Chester, what's his face, and I'm like, turn it over, man. And I get a song stuck in my head. And I remember being in Australia, visiting my girlfriend, and we're walking down the beach, and it was like real nice weather. And in my head, I'm just repeating this line from a song, and the line's got the word suicide in it. And I just found it on a loop in my head, like for about 2 days. I remember just saying to her, like, my brain's going mental at the moment. I don't know what to do about it. But anyway, back when I was a few years back, when I had this real bad one for 4 or 5 days, it was like 10 o'clock in the morning. We're getting ready to have a little bit of breakfast at work. I told my boss about it. He's pretty good about it. He was like, look, just do what you need to do, sort of thing. Because I used to keep having to go to the porta toilet. But if someone's in there, it's like, what do, you know? So that was always a bit of a mission. But just like literally in the blink of an eye, I was like, oh, it's gone. And I was just back. I was just back to 100%. And I was like, brilliant, I'm starving. Went and ate loads of food. And that was the end of it. And I don't know what triggered it, what brought it on, what stopped it. I've no idea. But I've been good now for a long time. I had a little moment a while ago on stage playing a gig. I was playing in a bar in town. Real busy in there. Of course it was. My band's sick, you know. New tunes coming soon. But near the end of the first half, I was so hot. And then obviously I think it's that reverse thing. I'm like, oh my God, I'm hot. I'm sweating. My heart's beating because I'm in like adrenaline. adrenaline. Then I'm like, oh, I need to take a shit. Then I'm like, I can't. I'm on stage. I'm trapped. And in the interval, I was like, lads, I think I might have to go home. I'm about to pass out if I stay here. And then I had a bit of water, sat down, chilled out, had to think about it. Got back on for the second half. I was calm. I was fine. Calm. Man was calm. And I was fucking shredding it too, if you want to know. Anyway, this podcast's getting long and I think it's been a bit depressing, but I just feel like people need to hear it because I know when I hear other people talking about it, I'm like, oh, cool. Cool, it's not me. It's not just me. So, if somebody, one person, I'm going to bang out the age-old catchphrase, if I've managed to help just one person, it's all been worthwhile. But it's kind of true. So, look after yourselves, guys. I didn't do an embarrassing story. Have I got time? What are we on now? Okay, maybe I'll just do a quick one. What can I do that's related to this? Okay, here's a quick one. I was in a Arrow town, which is like the sort of next town over from where I live, and they got these new toilets by the skate park, right? And they're all automated. It's like Star Trek when you go in there, man. You go in and it goes, doors closing. Whoosh, and the doors close. You sit down and it says, door locked. You have 10 minutes. And then it starts playing some like mad jazz music. And I was like, oh, decent, man. This is like living in the future and that. I'm sitting there. Then I see there's a sign and it says, this toilet will flush either when you put your hand under the wash sensor, no taps, it's all futuristic and that, or when you open the door. And I was like, okay, I'm definitely not waiting until I open the door, because what if it doesn't flush? I'll do the wash sensor. And I don't know, like I've been at work, I'm all grubby. I just thought I'd see how good the sensor is. I put my hand under the tap. The water come on. Because this is like a tiny cubicle. I can do that from where I'm sat. And the toilet just flushed underneath me. Which was like a bit of a shock. But I'd only just sat down. I've been sat down for like 5